Good evening, everybody. I hope you had a fantastic week. Full of highs and lows, lefts and rights, ups and downs. Was it a good week for you? It's pretty silly me asking you this because, I'm talking through a machine. You're not going to answer back. So, today I don't really have many ideas written down. I was just going to talk about one main topic, but I had to wait half an hour for my computer to update. I don't really understand why there's always so many updates on computers and phones. They force you to do it. They keep popping you up and harassing you and saying you've got to update. Nothing ever changes. It's never significant. And it takes so long. Like, I've been using computers since way back in the day. And I remember they go years that updates. Back in 2003, in the golden years. You could have a computer or a phone and it would never have these mandatory updates once or twice a month, which takes like an hour. And why do these computers and phones need to update so quickly? I'm watching this mosquito just recoil and do its little movements, and it's quite vicious. It's a very malicious looking mosquito. Nature's pretty wild. It's kind of funny we're all watching Netflix when you can just look at a mosquito and think, geez, that's intense. So I was reading through these notes from the Jeffrey Slater conference I went to in Byron Bay. Some of it's pretty interesting. I never really went through it before. Isn't that funny when you take a lot of notes on something, but you never actually go through with it? You never actually revise? It's like, what's the point? Why would you go to all this trouble and never actually go through your notes? Like, why even take notes in the first place? I guess because taking notes is supposed to help memorization. But what helps memorization even more is Sudoku. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is just kind of read out what I wrote and then give like a little description. So my first note is there's a splitting occurring. We can choose what reality we create. And that actually makes me think about life now, because in this course I'm doing, some people just live such different lives to me. Like where they get the information from and their knowledge of the Great Reset and Bill Gates and all that stuff. So other people live such different lives. And because we don't talk to many people, it's so hard to imagine how different other people's lives are. I mean, there's no universal standard of places to educate yourself from, no universal standard of where you get entertainment from. So we're so different. I mean, we look kind of similar, 2 arms, 2 legs, a nose, a mouth. But we can be so different. Like where you get your news from, where you get your music from. We underestimate the differences in people. So it's really hard to assess someone's actions when they're so different to you. Like they may not even know about what color the sky is. We just assume that people think like us, but they don't. We can choose what reality we create. And you have the power, basically what that's saying. I mean, if you're in a rich country, you're not disabled. You have the power to create your own reality. That's pretty intense. I mean, you can just be a workaholic that hasn't got a personality and pretends to be successful online. You can grow carrots in a farm and just meet up with your local village and talk about the crops. So many different lives out there we can lead. You ever think about just a couple of actions you can take? Just lead the trajectory of your life in a radically different discourse? I mean, there's a million and one different lives you could be leading. I mean, you could be like one of those people that pushes those little boats in Venice with the stripy shirts for the old tourists. You could be like a math teacher in a small town in Vietnam. It's crazy possibilities. It's insane how many people stay in jobs for so long and just cook their soul. Even if they have a good job, like a medical job or stock investments. People just live such unchallenging lives, like they don't take enough risks. I think being comfortable is the worst thing you can do. Could be just, how do you know you're doing it right? How do you know your life you're living is the one that's meant for you? I mean, just because you've got a nice apartment, is that all there is? Inner world is future of mankind. Well, what that implies is like everyone can have their own reality. Like, depending on what you do with your spare time, there could be a billion different lives out there. Like what you value, your moral compass, how you get your nutrients, what you do with your, sexual energy. I had intention next, and just with this column after that, with space. I didn't really have an intention. And then I had love the parts of clients that don't like. Silence has a voice too. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. Silence has a voice too. Basically saying, like I know the Irish in Kelly's Diaries, Ned Kelly, there's a fantastic book I read about him, that the Irish Australians, they used to ignore someone. It's the highest form of punishment. Because you're basically cutting them off from society. The greatest gift you can give is your company. And so if you cut someone off, you're not giving them part of you. And so they're going to suffer by the absence of your human contact. I mean, because it's a real form of punishment is social isolation. When belief systems are being challenged, can switch off as it is tough. Yeah, totally. Like if someone's already got their way of life kind of settled, they will not hear what you have to say. It's too hard. It takes effort. It's like going to the gym or reading a book. People don't want to do that stuff. Or people that are not already in that cycle of it. It's like if you go to the gym and haven't gone in years, of course it's going to be super hard because you haven't got the muscle memory. Or if you're trying to read a book for the first time in a long time, you probably haven't got the attention span. You need to work on it. But yeah, it's kind of pointless to try and challenge someone if they've got really like in-depth belief system already. I mean, because they need to find out for themselves. Like, you could give them perfect evidence, really clear, and obviously evidence isn't enough because it's always changing, but they won't even give you time of day. I mean, to me, a good person, a moral, just, rational person would be willing to actually give your opinion a go. I mean, you can't just be so married to your beliefs. You can't be so cocky about things. I mean, you got to be so careful of not just thinking you try not to embarrass yourself by thinking something new. I mean, of course, it's very embarrassing to admit you may not know something, so people will be like, no, not listening, not listening, just because they don't want to admit that they may be wrong because it challenges their high opinion of themselves. It's much easier to not ask those difficult questions. Don't judge everyone as their own stage and path. Yeah. I mean, it's very easy to make cognitive shortcuts and judge someone on stereotypes, but they may have not had the same childhood as you, may not have been given the same links, may not have the same genetic qualities. So yeah, I mean, obviously if someone's like trying to steal your wallet or, rape your dog, you have to, stop them. But it's very tough to not get angry at someone if they're doing something you think is really stupid because they could have had a different upbringing. But it seems even worse not judging anyone at all, like to defy that, because if you've never judged someone, they can keep going along, living a life of just ripping people off and breaking hearts and cooking themselves. Like they could be miserable and get sick because no one's really acknowledged that they're living a destructive lifestyle. Okay, this is where I wrote my intentions. My intentions are be prepared to absorb new information. So yeah, you have to actually get into the mindset. You have to be ready to absorb new information. Like let's say you go to a conference. You can sit there and be like, I already know what's going on. Like I've read a few books, so I'm pretty confident what I have to say. And so no matter what happens, you're not going to learn anything. You have to be willing to engage. Like those people that go up to protesters or like radical political people, You have to understand that most people aren't really willing to have new belief systems because that attacks their personal identity. Like they've already formed who they are on that, and it's quite easy to do that. So unless someone is really actually fully ready to absorb the information, there's no point. Like it's falling on deaf ears. Lose judgments and strengthen my motivation. Is that connected? Losing judgments, will that strengthen your motivation? Or are they two separate? No, they're separate. Lose judgments. Okay, so if a intoxicated homeless person is defecating on the street, you can be like, well, they had a rough childhood, so that's why they're doing that. It's like, well, also some people have rough childhoods and they can still find a way to go to the toilet. Make action working towards my career. Well, what the hell is that? What the hell is a career when the government can just cancel you anytime? What's the point of even building a career, right? Also, intend to strive for the most experiences. Yeah, it's like the yes man, Jim Carrey. Like you should be willing to like, okay, I am going to grasp all the experiences I can. I'm going to be mentally ready to invite new experiences. That's something that's pretty powerful. Be able to recall and utilize skills developed later down the track. Well, that's always great. If you're going to like a spiritual financial conference, it'd be relevant to want to use it later. I mean, the one thing I really used from that course I did, seminar, camp, whatever you call it, is whenever I get really stressed or down, I think about gratitude for nature, my ancestors, my family, my health, my intuition. I also show gratitude for humanity, like my neighbors, because like I was saying to my colleague the other day, I reckon with all the miserable stuff we go through, I think I'm pretty happy with society. Like, we're doing pretty well considering, There's so much pressure and like over information without wisdom, and the lack of community, the lack of discussing things with your grandmother and grandparents and cousins and aunties and family friends and colleagues and lovers. Or the conversations are not really real. Like, the person's just busy, or they're just hoping to get out of it, or they're so tired that they're not even worth talking to. Yeah, so it's really hard to know if your belief system is really up to date, because if you're just hanging out with the same people and not having real deep conversations, or if you're just always tired or intoxicated, or both, then it's fallen on. Like, what's the point? Like, they're not even going to remember it anyway. So my intention was to be warm, kind, critical, assertive, honest, and compassionate. All pretty lovey-dovey things. It sounds good though. Sounds good on paper. Sounds like you get a lot of likes on Twitter if you said that stuff. Specific result will be plans and level of motivation to work towards what I want in life. Yeah, well, I guess this kind of conference was about having a good relationship with money and being more spiritual, like showing gratitude and wanting to network with different interesting people. So I kind of trickled down a bit. Like, I'm always interested in meeting new people. And I understand the value of money, because if you're successful, then you can reach more people. And there's a lot of bad information out there with no soul. So it'd be good to have some success, so you can make a difference to those people. Like, I see a lot of teenage people just looking like they have no idols, no good content to listen to. So it's a shame that there's not enough out there, and that the algorithm is designed to keep people small, keep people uneducated and just focused on gambling and all these quick fixes to fake happiness. I will let go of the fear of not working hard enough, fear of others' weaknesses, fear of missing out. Well, that's a tricky one, because a lot of new age hippie people will be like, just relax, just get on Centrelink and play the Kumbaya. That's no good, because if you're not working hard enough, then no one's going to access to your gift. But then again, like, I heard that back in the day, we used to work 4 hours a day, like hunter-gatherers. They'd go out and kill some chickens and come back and tell stories. And yeah, so you don't want to be lazy, because you don't want to, not get the work done, but you also don't want to work too hard that you don't even live your life, that you're always on autopilot, like a zombie autopilot. You're just constantly going from one task to the other without even really feeling. I remember seeing this little documentary series once where this corporate lady, she went to this little tropical island and all the indigenous people there, and they're all saying, like, look, she's obsessed with, like, going one task to the other. She can't relax. She goes to one thing, and it's like a form of hypnosis to constantly feel the need to just be busy with a task. Because you're not even really feeling, you're not getting to that state of mind where you can actually analyze your whole life. Like, unless you're in the right frame of mind, you could live 20 years and not even look at yourself. You could just flash by without any reflection and none of that deep thought where you can actually take a look at what you really are and your priorities, and if you actually, it's worth it, you're impacting the community. I had next Combi, good place to eat. There must be a good cafe in Byron Bay. We try and be busy to distract from loving themselves. That's like what I was saying before. So yeah, I guess love is kind of corny. Like it's hard to give love because Hollywood has made us really awkward about it. We think love is only like, just sexual to one person or one night stands, or love like, you call your mum on Mother's Day. But a lot of people have love to give. And it doesn't have to be, exchanging bodily fluids. It can be just giving true eye contact and just having a warm conversation. But being blunt too. Not being afraid to say controversial things in the name and the pursuit of justice. External paths don't fill the void. So yeah, I guess everyone knows that. I mean, how many people do you know overeat? They've got like a huge muffin top, which gives them extreme risk of diabetes and obesity and depression and broken hips and bad odor. Or how many people do you know are just obsessed with getting home straight from work and watching Netflix, or just going to cocktail parties? Yeah, you can see a lot of people that they try and show off their Land Rover on Instagram, but it doesn't really fill the void. You can still see something missing from their lives. Acknowledgement. I acknowledge you, Chevy, for striving to improve yourself. See, I don't know, some of this stuff just find really corny. Like, something about this new age spiritual movement just seems so me. Just seems like, yeah, you gotta love yourself, but Jesus Christ, don't be so obsessed with yourself. I mean, you're only just a byproduct. You're just your meat body, and it contains your soul. Your soul, you're from the earth. You go back to the earth. You don't own yourself. Like, you didn't tell your mum to have kids. Like, I think, we're so narcissistic. Like, we're so in love with ourselves. Like, just settle down. Like, I mean, that expression is nothing like the gift of giving, right? So why is everyone like going to these conferences and trying to better themselves when they could just go to a giving conference, learn how to give, and do the same thing? I acknowledge you, Chevy, for taking chances, risks, scary things. So this must be like a list of things that I'm proud of myself for. Taking risks? Yeah, taking huge risks. I've been with like 2 girls in my life, and for learning to love yourself. I'm learning to love myself. Just bat me. I just want to lick myself. Yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of people don't love themselves. But because they know they've got room to improve. I mean, I think it's it's an unfinished question to say love yourself. I mean, you're different all the time. So you have multi-aspects. You may like the fact that you've got an investment property, you've got nice shoes, but you may not like the fact that you're really bitter and you're not willing to try new foods, and you're like really controlling of your partner, and like you're kind of snake-like. It's a very broad thing. You may love the fact that you work with people, but you may not like the fact that you talk down to people sometimes, and you talk about yourself all the time, and you're not really willing to improve yourself in multidimensional aspects, like current events, spirituality, health and nutrition. I mean, no one's perfect, so I think it's a bit wrong for people to be obsessed with loving themselves, because there's 24 hours in a day. I mean, what if you're a great person during the day, but nighttime you're snoring all the time? I bet you your neighbours and your lover would be like, damn it, this person's a bad person. They judge you by that hour, that minute of that day. See, like the other day at work, they're talking about Tom Hanks. talking about how one time he was on a film set for Da Vinci Code, and he let them have a wedding at a church, and they filmed the next day. And everyone's like, "Oh, he's such a good guy." Oh, one time he was in a small town and he signed autographs. He bought everyone like a meal at a cafe. And I'm like, that doesn't make up a good person. Because I mean, if you're getting paid $12 million for a 6-month movie role, and it's PR too. Like you could just buy everyone a meal at a cafe, cost you like $200, and then you get a news story written about you because you know there's a journalist there that gets you like 500,000 clicks. So I can't believe people just judge someone by their small actions, think they're a good person. And of course, I mean, if you're getting paid $12 million a movie, you'd probably be like a bit generous. And just because he asked the people to have the wedding, maybe he wanted a day off work. Maybe he was just jet lagged and he's like, look, you can have the church today, have your wedding, we'll film tomorrow. But secretly, all he wants to do is go back to his hotel and order a high-class prostitute. So is he a good person then? And I just don't trust him. Something about him, I just don't trust. And yeah, he's been in some good movies, but maybe it's just because he's cliquey with some producers. It's not because he's just the world's best actor. It could be because he's got the right political views for the establishment. Acknowledgement, being generous. Well, what good has that got me? I mean, I've been generous, but now I'm suffering because I haven't got enough for myself. But then again, I like who I am, but not really. I mean, been generous, but I could be more generous. If I had a better life, then I could be generous a million times more. So I don't really want to give myself satisfaction for that because I don't think I've been generous enough at all. Like, I never called my old friends. You know, like, my family's changed a lot and I got upset by things, but I've tried, but not tried hard enough. I could be doing so much more. Everyone could be doing so much more. Well, not everyone. A lot of people are just super good people I'm really jealous of and really respect, but they're rare. Giving compliments and focused attention to people. So these are things that 5 years ago I thought I was fairly good at. One of them was giving compliments and focused attention to people. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty proud of that aspect. Like, I really enjoy learning about people. If they're a butcher, baker, you know, or their family friend or Bill Gates, I'd love to just sit there and drive the conversation and learn about who you are. Because every human being has something to offer, and it's a beautiful thing. And I'm just naturally a curious person. You can see the genuineness in me. So when I'm talking to you, like, I really want to know, and I'll try and be respectful and be active listening, because that's what I like too. Because I can't stand it when people just listening really badly. Like, you can just tell they just can't wait to get away from you, or they know you're not going to give them money or sex, so that they can't be bothered and even get, you know, they're just so pleasure based and so status based that they're not going to waste their time. Being real / blunt, even knowing it can be scary. Yeah, well, I guess that's why I'm talking to myself. Because I'm real. I'm blunt. Well, yeah, because I'm so sick of people beating around the bush and hiding from their true heart, I took on for the team, and I'm just trying to lead by example. But it sucks because I'm not in a position I can really get it out there. And because, you know, I'm not going to make someone rich, I'm not going to give them fat material, they're not going to be bothered to really listen, because it's like, look, you go on the internet, you can watch porn, you know, you can watch music videos, you can work. Like, why would you bother with anything else? Like, all those things just give you instant pleasure. So it's a lot harder to have, like, deeper interests. For being beautiful, making people's eyes happy. Gee, that's a bit arrogant, isn't it? Well, I mean, it's mainly my genetics. It's from mum and dad. But also because, I've been really athletic when I was young and really, gym junkie in my early 20s and eating clean and refrained from partying a lot in my early 20s and, listened to Eckhart Tolle. All those things made me beautiful. And then just, looking at the sun sometimes for a little bit, just before the end of the day, just a couple seconds looking at the sun, absorbing because the sun's pretty cool, eh? Like sometimes I look at the sun and the moon, I'm like, fuck, that's cool shit. Like yesterday I was driving to work, and I got to work, and I seen the beautiful full moon and a big sun simultaneously. It was wild. I was like, I love these little balls in the sky. They're freaking pretty. Acknowledge people. Yeah, well, I do love people. I hate people, but I love people. And I'm fascinated by you. That's why I wish I could meet you. The more I learn, the less I know. I like that one. See, I'm not very proud of myself because I compare myself to people I respect who have done really well. And so the more I learn about other people, the more I research how the world works in history, I'm always like, damn, son, you got so much to grow. Because I'm like, the more I know, I realize that the less I know. Like, there's so much out there. Like, I probably know about 1% of history, but that's a lot more than other people. Other people know like 0.5%. And so that's why it's crazy when someone's like 27 and they think like they're God's gift to earth. It's like, bruh, you haven't even touched the surface yet. I mean, you may know a lot about chalk and cheese. You may know a lot about selling shoes, but that doesn't mean you know everything. Like, you should be excited about learning every day. You should be like, what can I learn from this homeless person? What can I learn from Tony Robbins? And both of them have got something that can make you grow, more interesting, more satisfied, more inner peace, less overwhelming anxiety, less, when you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, you can help that. You have to be willing to release fears so you can absorb elders' knowledge. Well, it means having courage. It means being willing to renegotiate your core values. I mean, I don't mean just being like a pushover and being like, hey, I really like working hard and taking care of my body. Then next day you meet someone who's like, let's just live an easy life and eat burgers. And you're like, okay. An actor's life for me. An actor's life for me. You remember Pinocchio? He's on his way to school. He's like, he's so excited. He's got his little books. He's got his posture. He's got his bum out in the air. Little wooden boy. And then there's this sneaky fox and this dopey animal next to him. They're smoking a cigar. He's like, ooh, fresh meat. I can see by this little face. He's really innocent. Like, why do you need school when you can become an actor? An actor's life for me, an easy life for me. Drink wine all day, sit in the sun, everyone will worship you just for nothing. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not good to have an easy life. And you may say, I've already worked hard. I've done my degree. I've got a bit of money coming in. But, I mean, you're letting your body go a little bit. And you don't really know that many people. And you're stuck with your entertainment system. Like, you haven't really changed much. You still listen to the same music. You're wearing the same clothes. Like, you haven't evolved. I mean, you've got a blessing here. If you don't take advantage of that, then you're not as good as you can be. And me old friend Jordan Peterson says, most people think they're good, but like myself, I'm actually a little bit bad. So I like to think I'm a good person because, I smile at strangers and I walk my dog, but I'm probably a bad person. I mean, I'm not a millionaire. I haven't got any children. I've got a shit haircut. I don't work out as much as I could. I don't really call my family. I don't get in contact with my friends. Sometimes I get road rage. I mean, I don't get rage, but I just speed. I don't try hard enough with my fiance. I give her massages and talk to her at dinner, but, I could take her out more and brush her hair. The new currency is wisdom. So yeah, you know how there's a lot of crazy stuff happening with the Federal Reserve and Bitcoin and gold and people saying the economy's going to collapse. And so in the future, in Greece, when the money's worth nothing, your money could just be worth nothing and they take away your house. You don't know what's going on. The government just does whatever they want. So yeah, wisdom, gee whiz. I mean, wisdom is very different from recalling information. A lot of people think they're smart because they can remember all the states in America, or they know who invented cheese. But it's bro, you're just recalling information. And wisdom is being able to connect the dots and apply that information to something practical, not just recalling and regurgitating. Like a penguin, a parent penguin gets a fish, fucking little bugs. The penguin gets a fish, half chews it, down his throat, and then the little baby comes, and then regurgitates the fish out to the little baby penguin. I mean, it's not that special. Imagine if you actually taught that kid how to fish. You taught your little baby penguin, hey man, what you gotta do is you gotta find out, look at the currents of the ice and a little bit of water. And you gotta know the lighting, time of the day. Maybe put in a little bit of fish. You save a little bit, put it in there, and then other fish will come to eat that fish, and then you can go in and get that fish out. So isn't it more satisfying to teach the penguin how to fish instead of just giving that penguin fish? So yeah, wisdom. That's the new currency. But how do you become more wise? Well, I think that comes a lot with art, watching old different movies. I mean, even just going for walks. Podcasts are fantastic, not just those crappy ones. I mean, Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, Theo Vaughn, Andrew Santino, Chris Stephanus in the house. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and even work, I think it's good, even if it's just an average job. If you just, working with your hands, it's still good. It's still good. It builds character, it builds wisdom. Because sometimes when you're doing an average task, you're just, you're building a house or a car or a cake, you're making that cake, you're pouring the icing on there, you're pouring the sugar on top, you're mixing in the flour with the eggs and the butter. When you're doing those activities, your brain can process information. So a lot of people think, look, I'm not a dirty housewife bitch. Okay? I'm not fucking just sitting here cooking. I'm better than that. I'm a high class bitch. You know what I mean? I'm a high class person. I'm not doing those trivial little barbarian peasant activity. I'm not cooking you soup. I'm a goddamn high class person. It's yeah, but don't you understand that those activities can actually allow you to process information, make you more wise, and you can end up making yourself more money and more pleasure and more genetic outprint on the world if you actually are willing to do those activities, wash your own car, do those things. When you offload that to everyone, you just become a ball of fatty, pussy nonsense. So next I have 3 categories of herbs: superior, regular, inferior. Apparently inferior herb is ginseng, I should get deer antler. Because when kidneys function better, the muscles work better. Lion's mane for neural stimulation. Actually, I want to get that. I want to get lion's mane because I like being neurally stimulated. Like I think I'm pretty cool to be around if I'm neurologically stimulated because I get passionate about talking about things. I get very excited, and I'd like to meet people like me. I mean, there's some people like me, but not every day I meet them, and I like those people. I like when they get passion in their eyes and they talk with their hands and they want to talk to you about it, and they stop and listen, and they have a sense of humor. Like they're cool people. Hushu is great for kidneys. So apparently at this day of the conference, we're talking a lot about kidneys and herbs and stuff. So this one's a bit weird. It's like talking about synthetic female and synthetic masculine. So at this conference, talking a lot about your divine feminine, divine masculine. Like, you know how David Bowie and Mick Jagger are like super popular with the ladies in the 70s because they're like assertive guys who are taking risks, going on stage, and they have like movements like little masculine movements like ooh yeah masculine, but they're also like long hair, tight pants, like kind of pretty and thin. So like they were in touch with the divine masculine and feminine. It's not good to be one or the other. You don't want to be like too butch. You don't want to be too sissy either. But somewhere in the middle, it's very salty sweet. Wisdom relies on being the mystery, not solving the mystery. Okay, I haven't even thought about that. I said it, but I knew it's complicated, so I need a minute. I need a minute to process that. So wisdom relies on being the mystery, not solving the mystery. I think that what I mean from that is you got to get your hands dirty. You can't just watch from an outside perspective. You've got to get in the thick of it. But also, I think you should try and solve mysteries that are really big, but that you're not going to actually do it. But it's about the process, it's not about the end result. It's about the journey. Wisdom relies on being the mystery, not solving the mystery. Being the mystery. Man, that's intense. I can't even get my head around that. Wisdom is being the mystery. See, this is why I wish I had someone to talk to about this stuff, because just 2 minds are better than 1, or 4 minds, or I want 400 minds. Like, wisdom relies on being the mystery, not solving the mystery. I guess that means you want to be more complicated than the thing you're working on. Like, I guess if you're working on a computer, you want to be more interested in the computer. That sounds deep, that sounds intense, but hell, I mean, if the computer runs out of battery, you're definitely more interested in the computer, aren't you? Capture the energy of the divine femininity to increase energy. Okay, so at this day in history, I wrote down that if I want to have more energy to get things done, which I do, I should capture the energy of the divine femininity. I guess that means I need to work on my feminine attributes. But are we even allowed to discuss what are feminine attributes and what are masculine attributes? I mean, to me, like, feminine attributes are like intuitive. Like, they're very good at seeing things that are not there. Like, they can connect the dots without trying. And they have an instinct to kind of care for things, and they want to solve problems, and they're shocked by drama, but they also appreciate it. And like, when they're happy, it lights up the whole room. I don't know. And like, they're curious and playful. Like, I know they like playing. They like tickling. They like mucking around. And apparently they're more agreeable. Women are more agreeable. Like, they go with the flow more, stereotypically. And yeah, obviously, masculine energy is like kind of protective, because you want to protect your kids from rapists. And like risk taking, you gotta risk it to get the biscuit. Like, how are you gonna know you're a good man unless you do some challenges? This topic just gives me the heebie-jeebies. I've got like this dark feeling in my stomach just talking about this. I don't know why. I think it's because I haven't done enough research on this lately. Like, I've been living a life so unspiritual that I haven't really. This is really hectic. Like, to discuss femininity and masculinity, it's just a real heavy topic. Having time apart on your own to be creative and to refresh is essential. Communication of the rational is essential. Yeah, you've got to have time on your own to pause and reflect and gather your thoughts. But people may say that, but then they just, when they're on their own, they're on the phone the whole time, so you're not really on your own because you're still getting an impression from everyone online. Divine Feminine, here we go. This is gonna make it easy for me because this is Chevy 5 years ago, so you can't blame me. So, empathetic, understanding, generous, assertive, passionate. That's what I wrote for Divine Feminine. Divine Masculine, equal, logical, creative, fair, discerning. Make of that what you will. Day 2. So everything I've written was from day 1. I hope you're still engaged. I hope I'm entertaining. Well, I think so, because I watched Law & Order SVU, and that's not very entertaining. I think I'm better than that. Day 2. Teach, learn. It's like a symbol of the infinity. So over here, I drew a little picture, and you can see my dog ripped this. When I first got my dog, she chewed everything. She's my beautiful book. But I wrote a little infinity symbol. Wake up to your brilliance. Wake up to your brilliance. Wake up to your brilliance. Yeah, well, what I mean by that, I think, is don't let your brilliant attributes be swept under the rug. Acknowledge them and let them blossom. For Christ's sake, if you have a gift, share it with the world. To keep it to yourself is a selfish act. Next I had in brackets, normal is for chickens. Yeah. I mean, what idea of normal is always changing. Like, there was this guy in my class the other day, I think I told this story, but he was an obese man, had lots of like fat in the back of his head rolled up. And he was saying, I really like this politician because she seemed really normal. I'm like, bro, what's normal? Like, to me, you're not really normal. Like, because you're putting all this unnecessary stress in your heart. Like, why would you put all that stress in your poor heart? Like, this thing is just pumping blood all around your body, and you're like stressing him out for no reason. That's not normal. And like, how do you know that your life is actually the weird one? Or because there's like 9 billion people in this world. If you've met, like, you have like 100 people in your community, maybe you're the weird one. You're on your own now. Better learn to fly. So, basically saying, once you're 21, and if your parents aren't like involved in your life, you're on your own. You're the only one who's going to write your own destiny. So you better pull up your socks and get to it, because it's not that hard, because sometimes your life just starts, your reputation works for you. So it's just the first couple of years usually the hardest, unless you're like, one of those people that never go anywhere, just working in a company for 20, 30 years and you're still miserable. But yeah, I remember for many years I had like this very romantic fantasy of like just someone knocking on my door and they're like a talent coach or something, and they're going to just drag me out of mundane suburbia and I'm going to do something with the world. But that doesn't happen. Unless you're like a hot girl, that doesn't happen. Get ready for Max. He is a powerful talker. Yeah, so they had these guest speakers come in talking about astral projection and aliens and stuff. It took courage to sit in the circle and do group meditation. Yeah, at this conference, they had like all these meditation workshops. You got to sit there and talk about your feelings, look in people's eyes and stuff. And I guess it's hard for other people. Like at one time I went to Rainbow Serpent Music Festival. And we had this activity where we had to like, sit in a group of like 400 people and just randomly sit, and then someone will choose you and sit there in silence, look at each other's eyes and stuff. And it's pretty hectic and you move on to that next person. Because we don't really do that. We're always just like, carrying suitcases and just like, make some money today, have some coffee. And so like, it doesn't sound that hard, but it can be hard to do all that stuff. Like get close to people, like let your walls down, like your guards down, be close to people. Because everyone's real like strange about intimacy and sexuality and being close to people. Like everyone's like, Always look to a leader, but it is within ourselves. Okay. So you should have someone to respect, but always understand that you have the power inside you. That's what pisses me off about Tony Robbins, because Tony Robbins, he always says, I will have the gift to you. I will tell you how to improve your life. I can see you're a weak, sniveling little man, but I'm going to teach you how to be a good man. I will tell you the secrets because I, all-powerful mighty Tony Robbins, will tell you how to be a good man because currently you're a sniveling, weak little piece of crap. But I will tell you how to be a good person. That's the first rule of mental health or counseling or life coach or anything, is that you need to encourage the client to seek it for themselves. You should steer them in the direction, but know they've got the inner resources to empower themselves. If, as a leader, you dictate to the submissive that they need you and that you're the only one who's holy, that's just really unethical because these people are insecure and it's more about you getting an ego boost and feeling powerful than it is about helping that person. And I really respect people like Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, but I also know that most people have that in them and themselves. Like, they're not that different. They're not that different from the average Joe. But they've had a couple of circumstances in their life that have led them on the trajectory of major success. So you can't really worship people too much because everything's inside you. And I think it's crazy when people worship people so much because no one to me is that special. Like, I've never met anyone or seen anyone who's incredibly special or watched them. Like, all the people I've met in real life, they're comparable to every celebrity I've met or every politician or every academic. I've met people who are compared to that quality. So I think that celebrities and stuff and politicians, it's very unnatural and they've got way too big a self-esteem. It's way too high and it's not natural because it's only because they've got corporate ties why they're so successful. And there's so many people who are just as talented but they're in a crappy little bar somewhere getting paid $100 a day because I've had a few straws that have fallen short. Like, they haven't made one phone call that could have changed everything. And so I don't think it's healthy to worship anyone. Because, who's to say you couldn't be the next Superman? People farming is going on right now. So, people farming is going on right now. Not much details there, but I guess you could say that our minds are being farmed. I mean, I was at these markets today. Went to a couple different Saturday markets in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia, down under, Southern Hemisphere, Milky Way. And all I seen for anything political was all these posters advertising Mardi Gras and all these Climate Action Now activists. So, climate alarmists and queer rights activists. Climate alarmists, queer right activists. That's the only thing you can get involved in. Climate change, LGBT rights. That's all you've got. Anything else, you're a disgusting terrorist, and stay low. You've got two topics. Climate change, LGBT rights, and race rights. That to me is people farming, because there's a hell of a lot of things going on in this world, and these two topics, they may be serious, but to have them as such an obsession is highly irrational, because the trickle effect, like if there was an obsession on mental health improvement and physical health improvement and emotional health improvement, you could see the effects. People become more productive. There'll be less crime. There'll be less obesity. People would be doing their dream jobs. They'd be making sound investments. They wouldn't be drinking as much. They wouldn't be smoking as much. They wouldn't be having abortions as much. They wouldn't be just... They'd be doing things that... They'd be having children more, not just having 5,000 cats. They'd be doing things that actually benefit society. So I really feel like people are being farmed with their ideologies, because it so shocks me. Like, we've been fucked around for the past 2 years and just treated like absolute ants, like plebs, like trivial little pieces of dog feces stuck underneath your Birkenstocks. And everyone's just like, climate activism? It's like, have you been under a rock the past couple of years, man? You seen what's going on with like human rights violations? I mean, we need to have good people who are healthy so you can help the climate. If all you're doing, you're wearing face masks in the sunshine and you're pushing fear about climate change, but the human rights violations are like so imminent and glaring red in your face. Like, Jesus Christ, how can you ignore the elephant in the room? Like, it's insane. Like, why? What is sovereign? Sovereign. I don't even know what sovereign is. Sovereign means like holy. It means like it's been checked by many generations. I'll look it up. I had that on my notes, so I'm gonna look it up. What is sovereign? One that exercises supreme permanent authority, especially in a nation or other governmental unit, as a king or queen. Okay, the sovereign means of exclusive notoriety, of a point of worship, someone to be highly respected. My next point was scholastic system, a belief in control. Yeah, well, I don't know. Something about seeing lots of school kids, I feel like they all kind of look the same. Like, because they're just doing the same thing every day, they're probably just like really pushing certain agendas on them and keeping them small. Like, I remember being a kid and your imagination is just like fucking fantastic. And so I feel like something about school, it does try and squash that. I mean, obviously school's great because you got to learn how to read and write, you know? You got to learn stop signs and, you know, like how to open a condom wrapper. But there's something wrong with this system because most people are obese, they're depressed, they're just jerking themselves off to death. So something's not right. You know, in Madeline, that show, something is not right. Something is quite wrong. Yeah. That's why a lot of people are homeschooling their kids now. I don't mean just like what happened to me, where you just do it yourself. You're supposed to have the parents teach them. So you got to have a hardworking man and woman in the house to have a dual income, so one of the parents can teach, or have like a relative, but have someone there. From my experience, I was homeschooled in high school, and because I just had all the books myself and just email a teacher once a week, I found it very difficult. And it didn't make me a better person. Giant praying mantis just flew on my leg. So yeah, make sure you got some. If you want to homeschool your kids, just make sure you go through the work with them, or you hire someone to do that for you. Because giving an 11-year-old like a giant pile of books and saying, "Have good luck," it's really tough, especially if they've been used to regular school system. So I don't really understand this next one. I wrote, a scandal is a crime. I don't even know what that means. A scandal is a crime? So, I guess, like, let's say, you know, you cheat on your partner or, you know, you're insider trading. That's a crime. Well, obviously insider trading is a crime. But I guess it's a crime. It doesn't have to go for the courts. It could be a crime against humanity, a crime against your own life goals. It's like a scandal. Like, it can be a crime. Like, just because something doesn't involve the police doesn't mean it's not a big deal. Jesus was killed by the police. Wowza. Jesus was killed by the police. So I think what I was trying to say there is that just because someone works for the government doesn't mean that they're being good people. Like, you got to be critical of authority because we all make mistakes. I mean, human beings, no one's perfect. I mean, look at Bill Gates. Look at Bill Clinton. Bill Gates, Bill Clinton. They're both successful men, but they both made mistakes. So you can't just worship people. You got to be willing to be critical. It doesn't mean you should be untrusting, but don't just blindly follow people. Without a threat, we don't need a government. So yeah, I mean, you see how like everyone's obsessed with Russia-Ukraine conflict. Government loves that shit because it makes people so scared. They're like, just take my taxes, just protect me. I just want to stay safe. I want my cheese and crackers. I want my TV. I want to be left alone. Take 70% of my tax. Take all my money. Just leave me alone. So yeah, 100%. Like the fifth estate, the corporate media, legacy media, they fully froth. They love any kind of danger because it's their bread. It's their bread and butter. And people are scared. They want more authority. When you think one person is the problem, that causes division. So, yeah, I mean, don't just think of someone's on the other side, that they are that different from you. Like, that's why I think it's so crazy how, like, people in Australia are becoming more Americanized now. They're like, what are you, a liberal? Or what are you, a Democrat? What are you, a cheese? What are you, a turtle? Are you right wing? It's like, dude, no, I'm a human being, you know, like a soybean, but more human-y. So, like, I identify as a meat body with a soul. I don't identify as any political party or religious organization. I identify as a byproduct of my mum and daddy making love. Ooh, look at this crazy insect. Eh. Ah! Everyone has the darkness. I'll explain that to my colleague yesterday. He was asking, are you a good guy or a bad boy? And I was saying about Carl Jung. You know, Carl Jung, the psychologist, talks about how everyone has in the shadow. Everyone has a dark side they need to be in touch with. If they don't, then it comes out in like slanted directions. And some people are way too dark and haven't got enough light, and that ends up in just as much trouble. You don't want to be too light, you don't want to be too dark. You know, you want a bit of balance. You want to be like a tamed warrior, you know? You want to know... You know, you don't want to be like a bitch, you don't want to be like a void rage either, you know? A bit in between. All capitals is symbolic of sign language. Language of the dead. Yeah, I don't know. DHAMA. Everything works. I don't know. English, the language of commerce. No spiritual words here. So yeah, like what Jeffrey Slater was saying is that English was invented just for trade, for commerce. So it's going to be hard to express yourself sometimes because if you only speak English, the words aren't complete to express how you're feeling, particularly if you're like type 1 personality, you know, where you're just more engineering mindset. Like you're not as eloquent, linguistically talented. You're more task orientated. It must be trickier for you to express yourself. It must be frustrating. Because someone like me, I mean, I can talk all day, you know, so I can always just express how I'm feeling, but I bet you probably not even that good though compared to the French and German and Chinese and stuff. I bet you they're probably way better because their language is way older. So it's more natural. It's more based on natural evolution. It's not just like invented to make money for people. How you use language can trick the mind, in essence, casting spells. So I guess what I meant here is that be very careful with your words because we underestimate, you know, how impactful they can be. That's why I think it's pretty wild. Then, you know, kids these days just obsess with rap music. It's like, yo, fucking fuck that bitch up, shoot that bastard, yeah, deal those drugs, kill that motherfucker, yo. It's like, dude, that's intense. Like, there's nothing really magic in there. Watch Podesta spirit video. Need to change our moral compass. Yeah, well, if you don't believe in something, you can fall for anything. Real crimes exist in morale. So, yeah, like, if people are not acknowledging their lack of moral judgment, they can be real crimes unreported. Time to face the shadows. That means that right now, I'm asking you to acknowledge your dark side and incorporate it into your personality. Don't let it overcome you, but if someone's rude to you at a party, or if someone doesn't pay you, or if someone just texts you and they should phone you about a serious topic, or if they're not looking after someone properly, or if they're lying, let them know. Because people, like sweet dreams, eurythmics, people want to be taught a lesson. Like, they're going to get themselves in so much trouble if they're constantly living a life free from discipline. Like, if someone has too much power because they've got a little bit of money and then everyone sucks up to them all the time and everyone lies to their face and lets them just corrupt themselves in the whole world, you are the bad person for not letting them know. Who cares about their friendship? You don't want to have free shit from that bastard. You want to let them know that they are being a tool. They're a selfish, manipulative, arrogant motherfucker and they need to learn their lesson. Because if someone doesn't teach them, they're going to end up corrupting themselves and others. They're going to end up fucking the world up, and they're going to be miserable or caught because of it. This is a point in history when we can go either way. So I guess with technology and globalization, like we could become really advanced as a species, or we could just go really backwards. Our willingness to tolerate evil causes world issues. Dot point, our body is a vessel. So yeah, our willingness to tolerate evil causes world issues. That's what I was just saying before. Like when we just bow down and let tyrants just use a bit of power to be malicious, that's wrong. We can't let sleeping dogs lie. You need to call a spade a spade. For Christ's sake, why are we always being so nice to each other and not telling the truth? The truth shall set you free. You can handle the truth. When you register evil in yourself, it enables you the ability to heal. Yeah, well, obviously, if you're just not living in truth to your shadow, if you're just like being happy-go-lucky all the time, you're lying to yourself. You're not acknowledging the dark side. And that's going to come out one day in 10, 20 years' time in a mutated, over-emotional expression because you haven't been true to yourself. If you're not true to your heart, you may get away with it for a year or two, but one day you're going to go into a bank with AK-47, take everyone out. Or you're just going to like just go to Spain and fuck everyone and get all these STDs and have like syphilis so all your hair falls out. Buy Breaking the Spell book. Apparently it's a good book, Breaking the Spell. Enlightenment. Breaking down of everything you thought to be true. Life is a... Things are not as they seem. So yeah, I'm guessing that means we're so caught up with like entertainment and just saving for investment properties that there's a whole world going on out there we're not acknowledging. Like there's a big elephant in the room. There's a bear eating our porridge, but we're not noticing it. We're just like brushing our hair in the mirror, like, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the prettiest of them all? And there's like all these fires outside, and like, you know, there's all this worldly knowledge, there's all these beautiful angels over here, but we're like, give me some more chips. Movies are being edited not as we seem for their amusement. So I'm guessing I thought that Hollywood is, they're not really caring about profit so much as they are about political agenda. Brainwashing of your mind. Order follower, people that blindly listen. Order follower. Yeah, there's a whole lot of people out there. They just know if they keep their head small, if they just bow down, they'll be okay. But that's not true. Because all the Jews that helped out the Nazis to kill other Jews, they'll end up being killed just as much. That's a fact, bro. Warm beer. That's what life's all about. FullCircleProject.com. It's not the money itself, it's the programming around it. So yeah, I know a lot of people that are obsessed with making money, and that's all very well and good if you're going to use it for like Tesla business or something. But there's so much baggage around it, like it just corrupts you and makes you weak and makes you sloppy. It make you cool too, but I guess there's so much programming around it. Like, how many people do you know are so stuffy and just like cardboardy texture because they've got a bit of money, so it's gotten real crusty? In its organic state, money is love. Yeah, well, I mean, like, it's very nice to be able to buy someone a spa gift voucher for their birthday, and then they go to the spa, they get relaxed and healed, and then they can be more productive and glowing and spread their joy with the world. That just seems like a good thing to me. Use your intuition, and have that in capitals with the exclamation mark. So you know how these days everyone's a fucking nerd and they're like they hate anything spiritual or magical? That's fucked, man. Like, you got to use your intuition. You can bounce off the vibe. Like, we're animals. We're magical creatures, right? If you're always just like obsessed with, you know, using your eyes and your nose to measure things, that's not sufficient. Because look at wind, bro. Look at wind. You can't see wind, but it does shit. So does that mean it doesn't exist because you can't see it? You can't measure it with a measuring tape? Nah. Some things are like just vibrating atoms. They're just like in the air. They're just, you can't measure them, but they're there. Like intuition. Sometimes you can just tell if someone's in a bad mood without even knowing why. Intuition. Use it. If someone tells you that, your intuition is telling you that someone's talking about you, they probably are. The feeling comes first and decipher words from that. Phew, that's deep. Yeah, imagine if you never learned to speak. You grew up in the jungle by crickets. I mean, how would you think? You're just thinking feelings. Wouldn't that be fascinating? I want to meet someone that never taught to speak. They never had any words. I just want to see their emotions on their face. It'd be so fascinating. But yeah, the feeling comes first and decipher words from that. So what I'm guessing what that means is, don't be so quick. Your words are very important, right? So think about your heart first and your feeling, that feeling inside your chest, and basically just let the flow, just let the energy from your heart and from Mother Nature transcribe and come through without too much conscious effort. Try and not think and just be true to your heart. Just let it come direct from your soul through your lips. Just let your heart come through without this conscious. This is just a machine to process information. It's not you. Your brain is not you. You have a soul. You have a heart. You're a magical being. When you're trying to communicate with someone, try and be in touch with your intuition and your soul, not just your motor. Now is the time to be a messenger. So I think what I meant by that is, don't just live a life of conspicuous consumption. If you've got something to say, then say it. Put your words out there. Don't be so afraid. Like 99% of people I meet are so scared about ever posting what they're thinking online. They're like, oh, it'll ruin my insurance sales job. I want to be able to buy Yeezys and microwave popcorn. I want to sit in my Yeezys, my Kanye West shoes, and eat microwave popcorn and text people. It's like, whoa, is that all there is to life? It's just fancy shoes and microwave popcorn? No, there's more to life than that. There's more. Like, it's not about you, remember? You're just a piece of meat with a soul inside. And shouldn't be so afraid to share your ideas. I mean, you can always learn. Like, you're always going to be improving, well, in theory. So you shouldn't be so ashamed about putting your ideas out there, because people like honesty, and you can edit that and people can help you. If you put something out there, then you can learn from that. If you're too shy to ever start, then you're never going to know. So, I don't know. I wrote here that a lot of dads are just mainly together for the kids and they weren't ready for kids. But who's ever ready for kids? They hadn't achieved the dreams and resented it. Can't afford to give the kids the right education and activities. Focus on himself. Needs to grow before he can be content. So I think I'm just talking about people in general here, like the average family in Australia or America, England, Canada, you know. That it must be tough to worry about, look, you want to get your shit together before you have kids, but then maybe having kids could help you get your shit together. And I had mothers that sometimes the parents hold them back. She hadn't experienced enough life yet. Scared my dad not be a good provider. Working too much to spend all your time with the kids. Didn't look after herself. George Cassavetes. I'm getting a new way of looking at myself. Fucking bugs, man. Jesus Christ. Passion. Direct experience is key. Okay, so passion, direct experience is key. So what I'm referring by that is, yes, you may have excitement over a topic, but getting your hands and feet and nose in the situation, that's really gonna spark up that fire. It's all very well talking about things, but actually getting involved and getting your hands dirty, my goodness, that is a much, much sweeter broth. Practice appreciation and love for Mother Earth. So what I think that is, that really helped me. I remember, like, look, you're feeling a bit stuffy in your head. You'd be like, just be like this. Fucking cockroach. No, don't be like fucking cockroach. Be like, look at that. There's a cockroach on my candle. There's a goddamn cockroach on my candle. I'm just trying to chill here, and there's a flying fucking... Yeah, so, I mean, I'm very blessed to live in a beautiful country, mate. Like, I remember, you know, you go to Byron Bay, you got the beach there, you got the crystal clear, white, squeaky sand, you got the subtropical trees leaning over, you got the afternoon breeze, you got the sun, you got the waves, you got the beautiful people, you got the music, you got the drum circle, hi, yeah. And when you just actively work to have the moment where you're like, I'm grateful for the trees, I'm thankful for Mother Nature, I'm thankful for my ancestors for staying alive and helping a family. I'm thankful for my parents making a sacrifice and raising me. I'm thankful for every person around me for not killing me. I'm thankful to all the artists who've made me who I am. I'm thankful for the truck drivers for helping me get food in my mouth. Like when you do that, gratitude, like that's heavy. Like I just feel so good now. Like I know you won't even try this. I know you never will. But when you just have that do what others did, makes you feel great. Like that moment of gratitude, like I learned that from this conference, it really helps. Like just gratitude, like, yeah, something like prairie about it. No one is more a slave than those who falsely believe they are free. Whoa. Put that in your pipe and smoke it there, Chief. No one is more a slave than those who falsely believe they are free. So, just because you haven't got iron shackles on your wrists doesn't mean you're not a slave. I mean, you could be a slave to your ideologies. You could be a slave to your addictions. You could be a slave to your comfort. A slave to your pain. And if you have no responsibilities, if you have like nothing that you care about, then you can be the biggest slave because you can be the one who's easiest to be manipulated to join a cause. Like if you're sitting there like just like a blob on a couch with no ambitions, commercial comes on TV and says, tired, stressed, bored, confused, lonely, upset, fidgety? I have the answer. Join this cult. Only $14.99 a month. Free postage. Batteries not included. People will be very easily manipulated if they have no higher ambition. So those who don't really have any meaning in life are the most susceptible to tyrants. A tyrant is someone who is like a powerful, charismatic leader who has malicious intentions, maybe subconsciously. I just want what's real. Yes, I guess kind of feel like that guy from the Matrix sometimes. You know, he's like eating a steak and he's like, you just can't really appreciate it if you know it's not real. You have to be proud without the pride. You have to be proud without the pride. I mean, I guess that means, you know, you like what you've done, but don't be like that guy from Beauty and the Beast, you know, and just super arrogant about it. I guess it's good to be humble. Well, I mean, you gotta enjoy yourself sometimes. If you've done something really good, pat yourself on the back, but I guess a lot of shortcomings come with being too proud, because it means you become self-complacent. You can become, like, you don't really try to achieve anything. Like, Joe Rogan talks about all these comedians back in the day in Boston in the 80s and 90s who they just had their routine, one routine, they never changed it because they'd already peaked, they had a little bit of success, and they never really tried to come off that. That you can buy 2 investment properties and you think, oh, well, that's all I need to do now. I just keep going the same thing in life. It's like, well, you're just a trap then because, I mean, this is not all there is. Love is freedom. So what can you mean by that? What do you think by that means? Love is freedom, huh? What do you think by that? If someone says to you, love is freedom, what do you get out of that? What I get is perhaps monogamous relationship, being loyal to a beautiful woman, stops you from wasting your time chasing skirt, and you can allow more higher brain activities. Like you can research the Illuminati, you can research how to bake a cake when you've already got your mate set up. That doesn't mean being happy with a mediocre lover. It just means, and you work off each other. Like I've learned so much from my partner. Like she's taught me so much, and from her family and her sense of humor, and like we bounce off each other. You know, it's like. Need to work with healthy narcissism. So yeah, I guess, I mean, Jeffrey Slater, he's super American. He's real American. And they're like, got a healthy dose of arrogance. I remember when I was in, back in Nam, I went to this cafe in Dalat, and there was senior Americans there, and they were like so loud. You could hear them, they're talking with a high pitch, like higher than normal. Australians are fascinated by Americans. We fucking love Americans. Americans are sexy as fuck. Like, they are so cool. Yeah, I remember when I did this course when I was 17 to get to university. And this teacher, she was wonderful. She was very helpful to me. Great woman. Fantastic woman. She really helped me out and challenged me and seen some potential in me, and she was a good woman. But she was saying, gee, your life must have been that bad in Korea because you seem pretty confident now. And so I guess because I had some things going for me, I still had a bit healthy level of confidence, and I think that's good. Like, oh, this poor guy I'm doing this course with, he's probably like 45 and he's been working the same job for like 20 years and he catches the bus to work and he's overweight and I feel sorry for him. Like, he's just a big teddy bear. You have to give him a big hug, you know? I feel so sorry for him. He's so unhappy. Like, he's just... And, like, it's not fair that this guy hasn't got any confidence. I mean, he seems really smart and kind and he's disciplined. And it's so sad that he has no self-confidence. I mean, you've got to have some confidence, you know? Love yourself. But not too much. Have to rewrite your genetic code. So, what does that mean? You have to rewrite your genetic code. I do know your DNA can change. So, I guess, let's say if you've got bad genetics, I mean, you've got to try and work on it for your kids. I mean, you can try and change yourself. If you're shy, if you're lonely, I mean, you can change that. Or if you're like really ugly or something, you can just work out heaps or become really smart, read heaps of books, talk to people, and then you're talented in that direction. Even though you're hungry for change, be critical of the information. Yeah, I think that's pretty spot on. Like, I guess a lot of people are mistrusting of the government now more than ever. But you got to be careful because I think we're hungry for like a revolutionary leader, and so we may just worship false idols. And you have to be super critical. You can't just blindly accept anyone, you know? Like, be skeptical. I mean, I don't mean be like super cynical, but don't be just blindly trusting the people. AI is controlling my life. Yeah, I mean, no one really talks about that, but, you know, AI is controlling your life, and sometimes you need to talk about that stuff. Tattoo on right bicep along forearm muscle. So at the time I thought it'd be cool to have a tattoo along the right bicep along the forearm muscle. People are getting taken over by entities. So, yeah, I guess it means that individual human beings can be literally just vessels for other ideas. They're just like walking people who are just pushing other people's agenda through them. Soul is beyond consciousness and spirit. So I guess that means that you can think about things, but that's not as deep as your soul. Your soul is deeper than your thoughts. And spirit. Next I had watch The Arrival, in brackets. Must be a good movie. We are infinite. So yeah, we think that we die when we're 70 or 80 or 90, but I guess this part of us lives on forever. There are multiple universes. So, just because we can see, hear, smell, touch, taste things, that's not all there is. There's a lot of shit going on out there we're not smart enough to realize. Don't mention God. For some reason, I think that's bad to mention God. It's a pretty hectic word, a lot of baggage behind it. Fractal, compressed form? I don't know what that means. The sun is the ultimate stargate. Yeah, okay, so apparently the sun is important. Without ego constricts, you are a mute. Sorry. Pure mind being God. True entity never casks entry to be on your knees. We are in a digital suit. Unifield field of love is your protection. Okay, so I guess if you have like you're faced by a super bad enemy or you're in a really rough patch, you could just remember that like your love connection, whatever you love, just think about that, and that can help protect you. Insecurity is spawned from subservience. So I guess what I'm saying there is when you're so weak, you haven't got any power, that's when insecurities come in. So you should try and get some power somehow, in any way, shape or form. I don't mean just take power, but try and develop power in something. Which power usually comes with experience. And then you'll be less insecure. Be proud to be you. Okay, so this is just pretty obvious, but not obvious at all. So I'm sure every single person in this world has good points and bad points. But it can't be the worst thing in the world for people just acknowledge their good points. We are not victim beings. We are creator beings. So it's very popular now to be obsessed with your victimhood. Like, I was dropped on the head, or I was born to a middle-class family, not billionaires. It's like, well, to frame your identity on your restrictions is kind of sad because, I mean, we're capable of so much. You know, like the other day at work, I was talking to my colleague and he's 25 and he met his partner 3 months into it. And then the 6 months after meeting, they were already married. And then she started getting chronic migraines and he has to support her. She can't work. And I realized that, like, I mean, my life isn't that bad compared to others. I mean, you can't just think that there's always someone worse than you, but by golly, you may have a really good life and not even know. I am infinite. Yeah, I guess that means don't be so afraid of death, because every interaction you have with every human being, every blade of grass, has left an impression on this world. Read in the dark. Love, fun, adventure. Enjoying yourself. Not playing by the rules of time. I guess that could mean that don't be obsessed with like just numbers in your age group, because it's a different world now what it was 50 years ago. People are living longer. You know, they can take vitamins and stuff. So you don't have to live your life by the old rules, because it's a different world. And if you watch movies from like radical people in history, the coolest people are the ones that don't just abide by every rule. You know what I mean? Love and adventure. I remember specifically him saying that. Jeffrey. He was saying, love and adventure. Not just love, because a lot of people just think love is everything. Like, it's not. You got to have adventure too. You got to take chances. If you're just in a constant state of love and euphoria, that doesn't make sense. Like, how's that helping the world? And yes, it's convenient to just be in love and spend time with your partner all the time, but you have to have purpose too. Otherwise, you're just being lazy. I'm sorry. When there's only love, it can become still. You need adventure to step outside the comfort zone. Yeah, you got to step outside the comfort zone. If you're in the comfort zone, you got to get out. If you're too comfortable, that means that you're in a rut. You have to get out of your comfort zone. Sorry, but it's true. Everything is an exchange. You're always exchanging. All right, it's getting really rainy now, so I'm gonna say goodbye. My name is Chevy Morgan. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. I try to be honest. And I'm sorry if I was boring. I hope you have a great weekend, and I love you. And goodbye.